So I recently went on this journey to find the perfect hardshell carry-on suitcase. After reviewing 7 pretty awesome ones, I crowned July Essential carry-on to be the winner. The problem was, the July Essential was just a little too heavy and bigger than I wanted. Hence, I'm going to give July Light Expandable carry-on a chance to compete. So this one is really good, and here's why. Okay, so before I jump into my review, I want to quickly establish the rules. As I mentioned earlier, I did a round of pretty extensive review of 7 different suitcases. I will compare July Carry-On Light Expandable to the full list, and I will add the data to the spreadsheet that's linked in the description below. Although my channel got more traction since my last video, thank you so much for those of you who supported me, I still don't have any sponsors. So what that means is I bought everything on my own, and I will have to return the ones that I'm not planning to keep. Again, I'm sorry that I can't do any durability testing, but I will be very thorough about the components, construction quality, and usability. The reason I'm doing this is because I'm so tired of making online purchases that I have to return because of the lack of information. I hope I can offer you the data points that I was craving for so that you can make a more informed purchase decision. So if you want to show me your support, the best way to do it is through comments, likes, and subscribes. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So this is the July Carry-On Light Expandable. It comes in at $265 including tax. Since shipping is free, this means you get the suitcase for exactly $265 with no additional cost, which is pretty cool. I've seen July does bundles or volume sales, and the best discounts that I've seen is 20% off when you spend X amount of dollars. So if you're thinking about buying multiple July items, that's where you can really get some good discounts. Right out of the box, the wheels feel really nice and smooth. Not that big of a difference in comparison to the July Essential, which I ranked number 3 in my last big comparison behind Remova and Tumi, which both of them cost close to $1,000. But the telescopic handle didn't feel as sturdy as the July Essential. It has some flex from a side to side, but overall it's smooth enough going up and down. I didn't really mind. So the suitcase is made in China. If you look at the dimensions, the website says 14.17 inches width, height is 21.25 inches, and depth is 8.66 inches not expanded and 9.65 inches expanded. And the weight is 4.9 pounds. Since suitcases have rounded edges, I will find a corner and use the box as the third surface area. This is how I was able to kind of create that sharp edge so I can measure the distance. So when I measured it, the width is about 14.5 and height is 21.25, and then the depth is 8.5 not expanded and 9.75 expanded. And then the weight is 5.14 pounds. So overall, what was said in the website and what I measured in person is very similar. When it comes to wheels, it's unmarked with any kind of OEM branding, and it has these hollow designs, so I assume it is to reduce weight. The wheel diameter is 1.9 inches. The width of the wheel is about 3/8 per wheel and 1.5 inches total. The ground clearance is about 2 inches. So the TSA lock is on the side of the suitcase, which I really like. So this does have exposed stitching, but the enforcement panel at the spine of the suitcase is somewhat protected. And when you look at the inside, the interior and exterior zippers are all YKK, and the zipper experience is very smooth. Unlike the July Essential, this one has no compression straps. Both sides of the suitcase are fully zippable mesh panel fabric. Although I'm not the biggest fan of using mesh fabric because mesh is more prone to tear, especially around the edge. But the July mesh feels pretty sturdy, and how it's sewn around the edge does feel pretty sturdy, so I'm less worried about tearing. So this suitcase did not come with any extra accessories like laundry bag or scuff polish block, but it did come with a nice dust bag. So something that I really like to do is to open up the suitcase lining to see how it's built. Just like July Essential, the logos are imprinted into the body of the suitcase, and therefore there are no extra screws, which is really nice. The wheelbase for this one is is really shallow. It measures about 3/4 of an inch, and the handle thickness measures about 5/8 of an inch. It's a little hard to tell because it's black and it's kind of dark, but I know it's definitely less than an inch. So I'm really impressed with the components that they use. For how slim it is, it performs really well. And this also means it has more room for your stuff. One of the key performance factor when it comes to suitcase comparison is how much stuff that it can fit. What I did was I pretty much packed the same amount of stuff as my previous carry-on comparison reviews. So I have my hairbrush case, clothes in a packing cube, a pair of bulky shoes, a pair of slippers, jacket I don't want to wrinkle, my compression packing cubes for clothes that I don't care about wrinkling, my toiletry, my makeup case, my jewelry box, an extra t-shirt, a pair of jeans, pants, and sweatshirts that can fit in between the telescopic handlebars, and an extra pair of sleep shorts. As you can see, everything fits nicely without even having to use the expander. So if you have more things that you want to fit, maybe if you're flying US Airlines where the size doesn't matter as much, then you have more room to fit more stuff. So when I took the packed July carry-on light expandable for a spin on my rug, I was relieved that it performed as well as the July Essential. It had no problem transitioning from my hardwood floor to the rug, and keep in mind that I purposefully testing this suitcase on my thickest rug so that I don't have to worry about airport or hotel rugs, which should be more compacted and easier to roll. The wheel never got stuck when I was rolling, and the telescopic handle was very smooth. Although the handle was a little thin, I didn't struggle with using it. It felt sturdy. As for picking up the suitcase, I wish it had a side handle and the top lift handle was on the front half of the suitcase, like the July Essential, instead of on the back half with the telescopic handle. I really love the fact that the July Essential, where when you pick up from the top, the bottom of the suitcase creates this outward lean that provides me the boost that I need to put in the overhead compartment. I just don't understand why the July light carry-on version didn't do this. It is such an ingenious design, and I don't see any reason functionally or design-wise they wouldn't make the same choice. So with those two minor shortcomings, the suitcase still feels really balanced. Since my old suitcase didn't have the side handle, I could live without it. By the way, when I got the July light carry-on, it really reminded me of the Takeoff Luggage 2.0. So if you're not familiar with the Takeoff Luggage, it's this really cool concept where you can take off the wheels and the luggage turns into a personal item size. So you don't have to pay for checked luggage when you're flying Spirit Air or Frontier. And the part that I really like about Takeoff Luggage is that it's only $120. It's not exactly the same size as the July light carry-on expandable, but it's pretty close as you can see in these photos. I really wanted to love Takeoff Luggage, but it didn't work for me because the wheels. It is not easy to take the wheels off or put it on. I really struggled with it, but I think once you get used to it, it might not be as big of a deal. But the deal breaker for me was the wheels themselves. They performed really poorly. I really struggled with the handling of the suitcase. As you can see here, it doesn't roll straight on my carpet and it's constantly getting stuck. I love the idea of multi-purpose suitcase with removable wheels, and I'm willing to pay more for a set of better wheels. I'm going to get to the point. I really like this July light carry-on expandable suitcase. I like it enough that I decided to keep it and bought another one for my hubby. I did find the one that I bought for my hubby has some issues with the handle and zippers. I opened the warranty claim request, so I will keep you informed on what that experience was like. Another point that I want to mention is the moss collar one that I purchased was slightly lighter in weight. It only weighed in about 4.98 pounds. I had a suspicion that different color within the same model may have slight variations. The reason is because even though the polycarbonate shells are made with the same mold, but the material compositions are probably slightly different from color to color and maybe even batch to batch. We have to remember that each suitcase is still hand assembled, so there will be some variations in quality and dimensions. This is why it is important to examine your suitcase closely when you first receive them. So is this the perfect suitcase for me? No. I wish there was a side handle and top handle is positioned in the front half of the suitcase. I also wish the mesh panel wasn't made of mesh, but I do understand that mesh is lighter and promotes circulation. For me, everything that I just mentioned, they're just small trade-off for the size, the weight, the wheel and telescopic handle quality. I have a trip coming up soon, so I will report back on the Suitcase performance, so stay tuned. Thank you so much for those of you who liked, commented, and subscribed to my channel recently. I really appreciate you. I will see you next time. Bye!